Always welcoming a chance to spend some time with Congressman Randy Hultgren, who's taken time out of his busy day. Congressman, good morning to you.
Good morning, Riley. How you doing?
I'm doing well, sir. How's everything going this morning?
Things are good. Beautiful day out there. So, yeah.
Now, where do we find you this morning?
Here in Illinois. I'm going to be just all over the district these next couple weeks, which is great. Good to be home. Good to see people. So we're going to be spending some time in Kendall and Kane and DuPage. And then, have a meeting in the city later tonight. So, going to be running around a little bit today, which is a good thing.
Yeah, for anybody who thinks, come back to the district, catch up on some rest, see what chores need to be done around the house. No, not really.
Yeah, no, not so much. Yeah, especially now. There's just so many things going on, which is it's an exciting time. It's a challenging time, but an important time. We've got to get some big things done in Congress, and so working with the White House, working with other entities. So many challenges out there, but my hope is, again, that we can be productive, getting the country, getting jobs growing again, getting opportunity growing again. So that's the focus, but just want to get out and hear from as many people as we can with a lot of the challenges that we're facing, getting their ideas, and then being able to bring those back when we head back in a little over a week back out to Washington.
You mentioned that four-letter word, I guess you want to go with jobs, that people are very fond of talking about. And tell me a little bit about the Encouraging Employee Ownership Act.
Yeah, I'm excited. It's something that passed the House with very strong bipartisan support last week. It's a bill that I've introduced that we put in the first time a few years ago and have been working on it. Weren't able to get it through the process a couple years ago, but did get it passed through the House Committee, Financial Services Committee, now through the House floor. Also the Senate Committee, the Banking Committee, has dealt with this and passed it. And so we're hoping that the Senate can move it forward quickly. Again, it got great bipartisan support. I think it was 331 votes for it. About 87 against.
Yeah, 331 to 87 was the final vote on that one. So that's a lot of support.
I think it's a good step. And really, what it is recognizing the value of having employees be able to share in the benefits of a successful small business by owning a part of that small business. It's a way for companies, startups especially, to be able to attract the best talent to say, not only am I going to pay you a good salary, but I'm also going to give you part ownership of our company. And we heard stories of some of my colleagues who have been a part of starting businesses, and literally lives changed by the ability of someone to own part of a company, to see the value of that, to work as hard as they possibly can because they want to see that company succeed. Right now, over the last 20 years or so, it's kind of a false, what I would say is a limit. The SEC has set at $5 million that a small business could not give more than $5 million of ownership in the company to their employees without triggering significant additional disclosure. And sometimes it's a reason why a company is a private company is because they might have a great idea that they don't want to share with all of their competitors right now. And the competitive advantage sometimes is keeping these things quiet. And it's especially in technology or iBio stuff, some of the biological technologies and things like that we see really growing here in Illinois. These are the things that have potential for huge growth, but they also want to be able to attract some of the best and brightest people to be able to be working there. So what we did is increase this level from $5 million to $10 million, and then have it increase with inflation over the years, so Congress doesn't have to come back and address this. Ultimately, I think it's a win for employees to be able to have more ability to be part of the ownership of the companies they work for. I think it's also helpful for people who are looking to start up and grow companies by them being able to have these type of packages to attract people who maybe would have been going to Silicon Valley or Texas or somewhere else to maybe stay right here in Illinois because they have a chance of owning part of a company that could be very successful. So was excited to see it pass. I think it's one little step. Many other things we need to do, but all of these things added together, I think we've seen some great steps of easing the regulation. It's kind of that boot off the throats of small businesses and family farmers and things, allowing them to be able to run their businesses, to run their farms without government overreach, which we've seen so much of over the last years. So I'm excited. I think we've got some real opportunities to see some growth in jobs right here. Illinois still has some significant challenges. We've talked about that many times. But this is one of those steps, and there's some other good things that we're going to do as well.
And the effort to cut regulations. What is it? The 2-for-1, 3-for-1, whatever the president had talked about. You've got to be hearing some positive reaction from business on that.
Very much so. You know, people don't realize how heavy this burden is for a small business who's out there trying to be competitive with their competition, trying to serve their customers, but then just not knowing what the next thing that the federal government is going to require them to do as far as paperwork filling out, as far as testing, as far as other things. And each one of these things in and of themselves maybe isn't, a horrible idea, but what the problem is, the government never looks at, cost-benefit analysis. So the cost of doing this regulation and what's the real benefit. And I think it's especially humiliating for companies when they do all this work, filling out paperwork and stuff, and they feel like, no one's really even looking at it. And yet it's potential to have this gotcha effect. We've seen far too often that regulatory entities can have an adversarial mindset, of we're coming into your place. We're going to look for something that we think might be there. If we don't find that, we're going to keep looking until we find something to fine you for. And that really is a weight on our small businesses. It's something that is difficult for them to deal with, and feeling like their government is kind of working against them rather than coming alongside and say, together, let's help you make sure that your employees are safe, that your customers are safe, and look, that their best interests are looked out for. To make sure that we've got clean air, clean water, all of these things, absolutely we want. But it's this micromanagement out of Washington that we've seen over the last years that has really been counterproductive and harmful to small businesses being able to reinvest into new equipment. And what I get most excited about is reinvesting and hiring new people, growing the size of their companies. So all of this together adds up to new opportunities for people.
Spending some time with, of course, 14th District Congressman Randy Hultgren, taking time out of his day for us. Since last we spoke, there was a chemical attack in Syria and a response from the U.S. You issued a statement on that one, but for people who didn't hear what you had to say, your take on it is what?
Well, again, tragic what Syria has done. You see these pictures of these little children, of innocent people being attacked by their own government, and, in direct violation from what Syria and, quite honestly, Russia had committed to us over the last, a couple of years ago, that all of these chemical weapons were going to be destroyed, be taken away, nothing was going to be there. And then we saw just the exact opposite happen, that these chemical weapons were there, they were available, they were used against their own people with really horrible results, difficult to even look at, just the death and destruction from these chemical weapons. So something had to be done. We couldn't just turn away like had happened in the past. There has to be a response. And I appreciate what President Trump has said is many of the things, what he did, it was very targeted. It was very focused on this specific base where a lot of these planes left to attack the Syrian people. It could have been done a few years ago. It should have been done probably a few years ago to make sure that this type of thing couldn't happen, to ensure that Syria wouldn't be violating these international agreements for protection of human rights. I feel like I've got a special responsibility as a new co-chairman of our Human Rights Commission, the Tom Lantos Human Rights Commission in Congress, and again, fighting for people who don't have a voice, children around the world who are being damaged or attacked or used. These are the types of things that we want to shine a light on, to say this is unacceptable and we will not sit back. And we need to make sure that part of our foreign policy, the work that we're doing, the negotiations that we're in, wherever it is, whether it's China or Russia or in Africa or other places, that we're bringing in this idea that lives matter. All people are valuable, and every life is of importance and shouldn't be mistreated or trafficked or destroyed for political purposes, and yet we're seeing this happen far too often. So this was one of those things, again, where when we saw it, you couldn't see it and not do something. And so I think, again, it was the right response. It was strong. It was quick. It was very targeted. And I think now the president is saying, well, we're not going further. We're not sending our military into Syria. But we had to react on this direct violation that Syria had made of their promise to not use chemical weapons.
Congressman, as always, I know how busy you are. I appreciate you taking time out of your busy day for us. You got a big day and probably evening in the district as well. I appreciate it. We'll look forward to the next time we can get together.
Thanks. Great to be with you. Have a great day.